energía baja, falta de concentración, niebla mental. You might be dehydrated. Gatorade Zero Powders han sido diseñados científicamente para ayudarte a mejorar el balance de hidratación en el cuerpo. Hechos con la mezcla número 1 de electrolitos, sin colores ni sabores artificiales. Shop now online or at retailers nationwide. Gatorade hydrates better than water. Is it in you? Signos de dehidratación leve y moderada. Consulta a tu médico si los síntomas persisten.
The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire. The human postponer. They were the master of one phrase. I'll circle back on that. But 3 months later, you are the one doing all their work and wondering how big that circle is. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can take the hiring load off your plate by automating the hiring busy work from the initial job post to scheduling interviews. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
Welcome to GardenDC, the podcast about everything gardening in the Mid-Atlantic region and beyond. I'm your host, Kathy Jentz, editor of Washington Gardener magazine. Can you believe it? This is our 300th episode. When we launched this podcast, our goal was simple: to help you grow your best garden in the unique Mid-Atlantic climate. But our listenership quickly grew worldwide and includes gardening enthusiasts from every part of the planet and growing zone. We couldn't have reached this milestone without you, our dedicated listeners, but most importantly, we wouldn't be here without the incredible wealth of knowledge shared by our past guest experts. Over the last 300 episodes, we've hosted the brightest minds in horticulture. We've learned about native plants from local conservationists. We've discovered urban agricultural secrets from community leaders. Extension agents have saved our tomatoes from blight. Author experts have inspired us to redesign our shade gardens. To every researcher, author, designer, and everyday dirt-under-the-nails gardener who has shared their time on this show, thank you. You are the heartbeat of the GardenDC community. To celebrate, we're doing something special. I've asked some of our favorite past guests to share some nuggets of gardening wisdom with us. They've recorded some growing tips and busted some garden myths and much more. First up is garden communicator CL Fernari.
This is CL Fernari, author, speaker, and host of The Garden Lady on WGBH Radio. I'm so happy to celebrate the 300th episode with everyone at GardenDC. You know, in a time when there are so many crazy and ridiculous fake bits of garden advice online, it's great to have a podcast that is dedicated to giving accurate and helpful information. What's interesting to me is that there's so many so-called gardening hacks that are actually more time-consuming. You know, they take more effort than standard nature-based techniques. For example, every spring I see a graphic posted online of people planting in eggshells, and the eggshells have been clipped off the top so that they form a cup that holds the soil. Well, have you ever tried to clip just the top of a shell off of a raw egg? You end up with tiny little shell bits in your scramble and a number of fractured failures, all to get something that's far too small to successfully grow seedlings in anyway. Or one of my favorite wastes of time is this: banana water. Fill up jars with banana peels and water and have those disgusting brews sitting around in your house because somebody posted that it was good for plants. Really? I look out in the woods and fields around me, and I notice that Mother Nature isn't brewing dead banana skins into slimy liquids. Nature is adding organic amendments to the soil from the top down. And wouldn't it be faster for me to grab some compost for the top of my pots or the surface of my gardens and skip having to eat a banana? And no, bananas aren't particularly high in potassium. Watermelon Beets and potatoes all have more potassium than a banana. My gardening hack is to look at the natural world and use that as my planting guide. For example, right now, as I'm recording this, I'm letting nature plant perennials in my front garden as the echinacea and the rudbeckia are going to seed. Some of those seeds are eaten by birds, but the rest of them are planting new plants for me. Well, here's to another 300 more Garden DC, and I'll sign off with how I end the Garden Lady every week. Remember to grow great things, protect wild places, and play in the dirt.
Hello, Kathy, and congratulations on 300 episodes of the Garden DC podcast. I'm Carol Michael, co-host of the Gardenangelist podcast and author of 2 Substacks. One is called Lost Ladies of Garden Writing, where I write about women authors of gardening books from the past that have mostly been forgotten. The other is my weekly garden journal called Diary of a Midwest Gardener. I also have an old-fashioned blog called May Dreams Gardens on my website, caroljmichael.com, where you can also find my books, including 5 books of gardening essays and 2 children's books. You asked if I could invite anyone, any historical figure, to have a garden chat and a glass of iced tea with, who and where. Well, I think I'd meet in your DC garden and invite a bunch of lost ladies of garden writing. Maybe Buckner Hollingsworth could come down from Vermont. She's got quite a history. And Elizabeth Lawrence could come up from North Carolina. I suppose since it will be in your garden, you'd give us a nice pass-along plant. What would that be? Right now, I have Bernardia japonica blooming in my garden, which I got from the Elizabeth Lawrence garden when I last visited there 10 years ago. Yes, you can still visit her garden. Now, if I could add anything to a time capsule to be opened in 10 years, I think I'd include some packets of seeds, maybe ones that I thought might still germinate in 10 years. I'd also include a good old-fashioned seed catalog so people could see what was being offered. And maybe they won't have old-fashioned printed seed catalogs in 10 years. I sure hope they still have them. Anyway, thanks for asking me some thought-provoking questions and for having me as a guest in the past. And again, congratulations on 300 episodes of the Garden DC podcast. Best wishes for hundreds more.
Hello, Garden DC listeners. This is Peggy Ann Montgomery. You might know me from flowerbulb.eu, the place to go for inspiration and education about bulbs. And I just want to wish Kath an amazing, happy 300th anniversary episode. That's insane. Girl, I have known Kath forever. She is doing a marvelous job bringing real-world advice to people like us that live here in the Mid-Atlantic. So keep listening. And I've got to answer one of her questions, and it is, how have your own backyard gardening habits evolved since the podcast first launched? Well, I'll tell you what, I use a lot more ground covers now, i.e. you better be looking for Kathy's book on ground covers because it's beautiful and it makes my garden so much easier to take care of. Congratulations, and we'll be looking forward to the 600th. Bye.
Hi, Kathy. This is Sam Hoadley calling from Mount Cuba Center. I'm the Trial Gardens Manager at Mount Cuba, where we evaluate native plants for both their beauty and value to hopefully help people in the Mid-Atlantic region make good, informed decisions about native plants that will work in their gardens. And I really just wanted to extend my congratulations to you and a happy 300th anniversary episode for Garden DC. This has been such an influential and positive podcast that will influence people in our region and beyond. And it's been a pleasure to be a part of that podcast. And we've been on talking about the trials. I look forward to talking about future evaluations with you, sharing results from our upcoming Pycnanthemum trial, Asclepias, blue stems, viburnums, and so many, many more. Just again, huge congratulations to you, Kathy, and I look forward to what you're doing in the future. All my best.
Hi,
Peggy Singelman, host and co-producer of Virginia Homegrown, Virginia's only locally produced gardening television show, airing on Virginia Public Media. You can find us on your PBS app or at vpm.org/VHG. To learn more about me, visit rvagardener.com. Hey, Kathy, hats off to you and the entire GardenDC team on your 300th episode. You've come a long way since launching in March 2020, bringing Mid-Atlantic gardeners great information, interesting conversations, and plenty of inspiration along the way. Congratulations on this wonderful milestone, and I wish you many more. Speaking of long ways, who would have thought hardscaping and container gardening would become the new norm? This shift has opened the door for more people to embrace gardening, proving that a garden no longer requires a large yard or even a patch of ground. Containers can add color, texture, and seasonal interest to our everyday spaces, and even provide us with yummy vegetables. We've certainly changed how and where we garden. Now the challenge is to make sure we're also changing how thoughtfully we garden. And if I were planting a time capsule for gardeners to open 10 years from now, I'd include Dr. Doug Ptolemy's books, Bringing Nature Home, The Living Landscape, co-authored with Rick Dark, Nature's Best Hope, The Nature of Oaks, and the most recent, How Can I Help? Saving Nature with Your Yard. They could serve as a benchmark to see whether the choices we make in our gardens today have truly moved us toward environmental awareness and sustainability. So here's to a successful future.
Hi, Katie Dubau here, president of Garden Media Group and author of the annual Garden Trends Report. I've been lucky enough to be a guest on your show a few times, and it's a real pleasure to come back to wish you a happy 300th episode. That is wild, especially thinking about starting in March of 2020 when the world shut down, and as we know, many rediscovered their backyards for the first time. Most things actually that started in 2020 did not survive 2021. And so congrats on growing strong and cheers to many, many more. And the one trend, of course, I'm going to want to just highlight some of the things I think back on the last 300 episodes. The trend that I was certain was a 2-week fad was the front porch goose. Can we all just remember a few summers ago when they became popular? If you somehow missed it, it was a concrete or plastic goose about 2 feet tall that lived by your front door. And you dress it up. They have little raincoats, a Santa suits, a bumblebee. When this hit my feed, I definitely thought it was ridiculous, hilarious, kind of adorable, but that it would be gone within 2 weeks, just like lots of these fads. But lo and behold, the following summer, there it was again. The goose stuck. In the Mid-Atlantic, we see geese with Phillies jerseys. They're outfits that are handmade by Etsy sellers. It's a genuine cottage industry. And so it's something that I missed. I evaluated it as decor. But what the moment tells us is that our outdoor spaces define who we are, and people want to be a little silly. They want to have something that makes them smile, and that's one of the reasons why people garden in the first place. Something that a small change they can make, maybe with seasonal changes, that really just brings them joy. And if nothing sums that up like a goose in a bumblebee outfit, I don't know what does. So congratulations again, Kathy. Here's to the next 300 episodes. I sure hope that goose makes it to number 600.
Hello, this is Jenny Rose Carey. You may know me as the author of Glorious Shade, The Essential Guide to Bulbs, and The Ultimate Flower Gardener's Guide. And I would like to add my congratulations to many voices on the 300th episode of the GardenDC podcast for Mid-Atlantic Gardens. I have been asked to share something I think is important in gardens, and I would share the fact that I have been using water sparingly in my garden and saving it. So I do have some rain barrels, I have cisterns behind one of my ponds, but I also have had a dry garden that hasn't been watered since I put it in 2004. And that is the trend or habit that I think will take on more, and I think will be more important, because we don't know whether we're going to get lots and lots of water or not enough water, especially in the summer. So the use of swales and rain gardens and vernal pools, and then the ability to choose plants that don't need any additional water to grow well. And if I did invite somebody to have tea in the garden, it would be a hot tea, not an iced tea. And I would invite the very well-known garden author Gertrude Jekyll, and she would love going to any public garden with me, or even your own private garden. So those are a few thoughts, and congratulations to Kathy and the whole team on a job well done. And I've loved being your guest to talk about some of the books, and I really appreciate all that you do to encourage people to garden better and think about the plants that they're planting and how they're planting them. Bye for now. Bye.
Hi, this is Christy Page, and you probably know me as the editor and publisher of Food Gardening Magazine and Green Prints. I definitely want to wish a happy anniversary episode to GardenDC, the podcast about Mid-Atlantic gardening. I'm so happy to be a part of this wonderful journey and being able to lend some last words for various episodes. So this year, trying to keep my gardening stress-free, I decided to do some free flow planting and not worry so much about having everything in raised containers or completely protected from wildlife. This has worked out well in some ways. My cucumbers are doing better than ever, and they are spreading all over the place. My zucchinis, not so much. I ended up with 2 zucchinis at the very beginning of the season, and absolutely none since, because the rabbit who lives next door, I'm assuming it's the rabbit, decided that it was a tasty, tasty plant and have left none for me. So this has been Christy Page. Congratulations again, and best of luck in the future.
Well, good day, everybody. My name is Dr. Alan Armitage. I'm a horticulturist, and I have been doing this gardening thing for many, many years. I have been involved with podcasting here, there, and everywhere, but I just want to say congratulations to the GardenDC podcast from Mid-Atlantic States, for the 300th edition of the podcast. That is a long time. It even makes this old guy feel old. I think it's fabulous that this podcast has maintained its credibility, its quality, and it's great fun to listen to because you never know what you're going to hear. But anyway, as a horticulturist and as a gardener, I truly do get my fingernails dirty all the time. And as a communicator, I do all these kind of crazy things as well. How much fun is it to do what we do? I have as many weeds as you do. I have killed as many plants as you have, and I'm supposed to know what I'm doing. Well, that's the thing about gardening. Even though we're pulling weeds, and at times that gets tiring, believe me, is there anywhere else you'd rather be than in the garden? I mean, it's too cold, it's too hot, too many bugs, it doesn't matter. This is what we enjoy doing, and a podcast like GardenDC just kind of keeps us fresh. And Kathy asked me to sort of tell a story about maybe a crazy thing I did or who I learned from and all. I mean, we could go on forever, and I don't have enough time for that. But I do have one thing that makes sense to everybody I talk to. At least they nod properly and they agree, and every now and then they clap when I say that we as gardeners, we have one thing that everybody in the world wishes they had. We have one thing for sure that keeps us young, keeps us energetic, and just gets us up in the morning. It's really cool. And I mean, lots of people perhaps have this, but all gardeners have it. And that is, we always have something to look forward to. Always. It doesn't matter if you put a bulb in the fall, you look forward to the spring. You put a seed in a little bit of soil, and you look forward to it sprouting. You put a sapling in, and you do it because you know that perhaps not for you, but for the next generation, there's going to be a beautiful tree there. We always have something to look forward to. We even believe catalogs. That's how cool this stuff is. So from Dr. Alan Armitage to GardenDC podcast and all of that, I just want to say congratulations again. 300, I'm all there, and I hope I'll get the next 300 will be just as good. So, from me to you, all the best. Let's stay dirty. Let's stay happy. Let's stay in the garden. Take care.
Hello, my name is Eva Monheim. I'm director, producer, and co-host of the Plant a Trillion Trees podcast. Happy 300th episodes to GardenDC, the podcast about mid-Atlantic gardening. It's never too late to prepare your garden for climate change. Pick plants that have a wide range of tolerance to weather and soil conditions. A great example is Taxodium or bald cypress. This tree is tolerant to wet as well as dry conditions and can act as a mini microclimate for spring bulbs and ground covers beneath. Its fall color is spectacular, and after dropping its small branchlets, they turn into a great mulch for the plants, quickly breaking down for next spring's glorious floral display. Consider planting tree or habitat islands on your property, consisting of several key trees, shrubs, and perennials. A good selection of trees could include live and willow oaks or other oak species. Consider bottlebrush buckeye, phothagella, and common and vernal witch hazels. These diverse islands provide seed stores for your property and maybe for the local garden organizations. Did you know that there's a global seed shortage? Having plants that bloom at different times throughout the year provide pollinator habitat. Plant shrubs and ground covers that produce berries, black and red chokeberry, wild strawberries, and low and high bush blueberries for birds and other small mammals. Protect your inner gardens by planting salt-tolerant plants along roadways. Beach plum, northern bayberry, and junipers are a great place to start. Congratulations again, Kathy Jentz and GardenDC. Wishing you the very best for the next 100 episodes and beyond.
I'm Charlie Nardozzi, author of The Continuous Vegetable Garden and 7 other gardening books. I've been a guest on Kathy's GardenDC podcast show a number of times. And I'd like to wish Kathy and her team happy 300th anniversary episode. Her podcast in the Mid-Atlantic region has been beneficial for so many people, bringing experts in and offering great advice to help us all be better gardeners. Kathy's been doing this, and she's seen a lot of things change in those years, and so have I. And one of the things I like to mention is the whole idea of no-dig gardening. No-dig gardening is a way to not turn, till, or disturb your soil so that you can have a healthier soil underfoot, whether it be in a lawn, a garden, a perennial flower garden, a forest, anywhere you are, leaving the soil there, letting it build up naturally, and being able to garden in a more ecologically friendly way. So, Kathy, I wish you another 300 episodes from here on out, and good luck and congratulations.
Thank you for listening to GardenDC. This episode was made by real humans. It was produced and hosted by myself, Kathy Jentz. The Let the Sunshine music interludes are by James Mulvaney. Thank you to our expert guests who shared their messages with us today. If you like this episode, you may also enjoy listening to GardenDC Podcast Episode 100, Behind the Scenes, Episode 200, Secrets of a Gardening Podcast, episode 250, Garden Hacks. You can become a listener supporter by going to the link in our show notes. Another way to support this podcast is to subscribe to our monthly digital publication, Washington Gardener Magazine. To do so, go to WashingtonGardener.com or WashingtonGardener.blogspot.com. You can find Washington Gardener on Twitter or X, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Pinterest at WDC Gardener, and on Facebook at Washington Gardener Magazine. And be sure to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast listening app. Please take a moment to share us on social media with hashtag GardenDC and with your gardening friends so other gardeners can find us too. Note that the GardenDC podcast is taking a short break and we'll be back soon with new episodes. Happy gardening.